Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans drift in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. We ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and, of course, on X. How is everybody doing, Mets fans, as we play Game 2 of the series against the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park, as the Mets lose 3-1 yesterday at Fenway, at another abysmal performance by the offense. And before we get started about anything else, the Juan Soto situation is probably the funniest thing to me ever, because I did a little bit of digging, all right? And it started with, obviously, Bob Klapisch, who wrote that story. Obviously, the guy is a Yankee shill. He's a Yankee fan. He's always been a Yankee supporter. And he's writing about the Mets. The only time when he writes bad about the Mets is when he needs a big story to get clicks, and that is exactly what he did. And I want everybody to, I'm going to give people a little bit of homework today when it comes to Bob Klapisch. All right, type in Francisco Lindor 2021, Francisco Lindor 2023, and you know what, Francisco Lindor 2024 April, or do it in May, whatever you want to put. Right? How about that? Because once you do that, you'll understand Bob Klapisch is, only times he writes about the Mets is when he has to make a story to make it bigger than it actually is. Now, has Juan Soto been good this year? No. Has he been terrible to Juan Soto standards? Yes. Bob Klapisch basically inserted Juan Soto's name when Francisco Lindor was in that story. The exact same information, the exact same story. Just replace Francisco Lindor's name with Juan Soto. That's what he did. So not only was the Juan Soto return to Yankee Stadium obviously was going to be a big deal, but Bob Klapisch had to write a story about that right in the middle of everything going on between the Mets and the Yankees. Why didn't he write it against the Mets and the Marlins? Why didn't he write it against the Mets and the Pirates? Right? Juan Soto wasn't playing well then. So why would a guy who basically is past his prime and basically nobody cares about what he writes anymore, and he decides, when do I write about Juan Soto? When do I actually look relevant? And do it during the Yankee series, when it's the biggest story going on in baseball. Mets Yankees, biggest game, obviously the biggest, rivalry weekend and all that. When do I write it? Let's not write it against the Mets and the Pirates. By the way, the Mets were winning a series, by the way, at that time. Let's not write it in any other moment when Juan Soto hasn't been good for the first 47 games, 46 games of the season, and they do that. The Los Angeles Dodgers have lost 8 of their last 9. Have not played well. right? Have you seen the stories from the Los Angeles Dodgers? Why did they get the benefit of the doubt? Because they won last year? Does that count? Is that the reason why? Or does history matter? Does it have anything to do with this year? No, it doesn't. So what is annoying to me is the fact that somebody also put a split stat of what has Juan Soto done with the Mets in the first 45, 46 games of the season compared to what he did with the Yankees. At that time, he had one more home run as a Yankee. He had 2 more RBIs as a Yankee. Now, the average, big difference, is about 45, 50-point difference. Big difference. The OPS is almost, I would say, about 60 to 70 points higher. So the average in the OPS, yes, absolutely. But overall, people act like he's Jason Bay. Like it's crazy to me. Again, guys, type in Bob Klapisch Lindor 2001, 2003, and 2004. He wrote stories about Francisco Lindor not being able to play in New York, not smiling, not hustling, making lackadaisical plays in the field. He wrote the same exact story with Francisco Lindor's name on it, and he just replaced Juan Soto's name in those same stories. You guys got to do your homework. This guy is a Yankee shill. He's basically Andy Martino. Have Andy Martino wrote anything positive about the New York Mets? No, but I guarantee you the Mets have been. Now again, if you want to call this a little slump for the New York Mets, they're 5-5 in their last 10. As bad as they played, they're still 500 in their last 10 games. And this is why I said to go out to a 10, 11, 12 games on the over 500, where you have to try to stack those wins, because you're going to go through a little bit of a team slump in the win-loss column. Everybody goes through it. Like, we are shocked that the Mets, for the first 40 games of the year, were 11, 12, 13 games over 500. They haven't been 10 games under 500. They haven't gone under that in a while. And everybody's panicking. Why are you panicking? Like, again, like, we are, and this is why I hate when we play the Mets and the Yankees, winning or losing. Just like last year when we won the 4 games, right? You got to move on. It's not the end of the world. It's a series in May that everybody goes insanely crazy for. And you can go back and there's going to be Yankee fans, oh, when you won the 4 games last year, you act like it was the World Series. No, we didn't. If you go back to last year and go to those streams and those post-game streams, were we excited that we won the ball game? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Yeah, you get a little bit of bragging rights. But we moved on. Like, nobody knew if the Yankees won a game against the New York Mets because it was all about Juan Soto, right? And if you listen to WFEN and you listen to the fans, the people who were at Yankee Stadium, I had friends there, and they were Yankees. Some of them were Yankee fans who are friends of mine. Once they won that ball game, the only chance, there wasn't no "Let's Go Yankee" chants coming down the corridor, getting out of the stadium. All the chants were "fuck Juan Soto." So that goes to tell you where Yankee fans' mindset is. And I'm going to say this about Yankee fans. It's very easy to worry about the team across town and worry about only Juan Soto when you don't got to worry about a division and you don't have to worry about an American League that is no contest because they're a terrible league. So it's easy to worry about everything else because the Yankees have no competition in the American League right now. They don't, especially in the American League East. The Red Sox are 1 game over 500. Or 1 game under 500, excuse me. Juan Soto wasn't playing for the Yankees when the Mets beat them last year. Yes, he was. Him and Judge were, by the way. Now, I do agree, and Dola, I agree with that, right? There is something up with Juan Soto. But, again, go back to when he got traded to the San Diego Padres, right? I think it's very similar to look at the 2022 season with Juan Soto. He got traded to San Diego. He didn't have no say in where he was going. The Nationals traded him to the San Diego Padres. Obviously, he wasn't happy. He stopped doing the Soto shuffle and all that. He just had a rough go of it for that last 90 so games of the year, right? But go back to 2022. I know a lot of people want to forget this, but look at the playoff he had with the San Diego Padres. And by the way, it started against the New York Mets in the wild card series. We all forget about that, right? His numbers were bad for Soto standards. Again, we got to say Soto standards because there's players that are average players in this league that would love to have bad Soto numbers for Soto numbers. Somebody would love to have those numbers because they would get a big payday if he had a bad Soto numbers. Like that's the difference. And again, I keep on saying Juan Soto wasn't playing for the Padres in 2024. Last year was 2024. He just went to the World Series with the Yankees. Malaza, come on, stop it. You got to know that. Like, if you look what he did into the playoffs, right? If you look at the later part of the year when San Diego was, trying to sneak into the playoffs, Juan Soto had one of the best Septembers he's had in his career in 2022. And he took it into the playoffs. And he had a really good playoffs for the Padres. So even when he was having a hard time going through the change and a new team and not playing well, he still found a way. Okay, Malaza, you just don't know what you're talking about. He was not traded at the deadline. He was traded in the offseason. So he had a good September and took it into the playoffs. So even when he had a bad season, he still found a way and wasn't happy, so quote unquote. He still figured out a way to be what Juan Soto always been when it mattered the most for the Padres. So the thing that annoys me is that now I always knew that the return to Yankee Stadium was going to be a big deal, right? That should have been the story. Everybody, look, Bob Coppice wrote that story for what? What was the reason for it other than getting clicks and views? There's no other reason to write that because nobody else was writing about that at all. Now that everybody was talking about the return of Juan Soto, which is understandable. That's a big story. And I understand that part. But again, I go back to saying the same thing. And Met fans, you got to stop falling for this nonsense. You continue to do it. And it was around, it's directly in the Yankee series. So, obviously you're going to get it from both sides. You're going to get it from the Yankees fan side. You're going to get it from, everybody calling up and some Met fans that are delusional and believe everything they read every single time. Michael Kay don't like the Mets. We all know that. Of course he's going to say, well, from people I heard, you wanted him to be the Yankee, but his family wanted him to be the Mets. Doesn't matter. Like, who cares? Like, what did Juan Soto go into the meeting with the Yankees saying, hey, I want to be a Yankee? Yeah, no shit. He wants the money. That's why he said that. He probably said that to Toronto. He said that to the Red Sox. He said it to the Mets. Like, come on, guys. Like, negotiations are negotiations. Like, we have to stop. Now, do I think that Juan Soto wanted to do so much so quickly with his new team that he pressed. And again, we forget that he's human. And we all forget that this is his first big contract. Right? We all forget that. He's been in the league 7 years. We all forget that part. He's been on 3 teams prior to the Mets. Excuse me. The Nationals, the Padres, the Yankees. All of that was on his arbitration eligible years, rookie contract to arbitration eligible years. And he made the money. He made money in the arbitration years based on other guys got on the team or in the league. That's how arbitration works. So he wasn't making more than Francisco Lindor. He wasn't making more than Aaron Judge. Right? This is his first big contract where he's never had to deal with people talking about how much he's making because he wasn't making astronomical amount of money. So it's a huge adjustment for him, regardless of if he's still playing in New York. It's a huge adjustment. And we act like nobody told. Everybody's like, oh, he's $765 man. Look at it. Oh, you can't play. Look, you don't want to be a Met. How about it can be as simple as, yeah, the pressure is on him. When he was the guy in the Washington Nationals, he was making league minimum for the first couple of years as a Washington National. And grew up in an organization and slowly started making no money. Has Soto been good with the Mets? No, absolutely not. But to make every excuse, make every reason other than a big contract like Carlos Beltran got, like Francisco Lindor got, every one of those guys, you want to throw Mike Piazza in that mix? Mike Piazza, guess who wrote us? You know how many reporters wrote stories, especially the ones that never write stories about the Mets, wrote stories about Piazza and his struggles when he got traded here. He don't want to be here. He doesn't like New York. All that stuff. Same stuff. Piazza, beloved. Carlos Beltran, after he left, Met fans finally appreciated him. Francisco Lindor, it took until last year, year number 3, technically 4, of his tenure with the Mets for Met fans finally to embrace Francisco Lindor. And it didn't start until June. Just read a story, Bob Clappish, a couple of other stories from other reporters about Francisco Lindor just last year in May. And tell me it wasn't the exact same thing they were talking about with Juan Soto. The only thing they didn't bring up about Juan Soto because he played in New York last year. And they put that in the story with Francisco Lindor. But the same thing, not smiling much. Mr. Smiles not smiling as much, not hustling, looking lackadaisical on the field. Terrible at-bats. Can he handle New York? Can he play in New York? All that stuff. Obviously, it's the same stuff. When you actually look into it and read it, look how many Met fans didn't want Francisco Lindor. Even they were told the $300 million man can't step up in New York, can't be a Met. This was last year from fans in May. And everybody's singing his songs in September. Like, we all forget about that. Now, again, Juan Soto has not been good to his standards. But we act like stars haven't come to and it's been a thing with the Mets with players like this that signed a big contract. Either if they were traded here and then signed an extension or signed as a free agent. It's May 20th. It's 49 games into the season. We're just a quarter, basically almost a quarter of the season. Almost. And we're making it seem he had a 162 game season of a terrible season. Like, Beltran and Lindor didn't have great seasons, but if you look at both of them later in the year, when it came to like August and September, they started to step up a little bit. Now, Lindor in 2022, the team was so good, nobody actually really cared about his struggles, but he had struggles that year as well, early on. 2023, struggled. 2024, first 2 months, struggled. Batting under 200. Yeah, committee, this is what annoys me. Now, I was mad that Soto didn't bust it out when he hit that ball somewhat like almost up the middle where it took a bad bounce on LeMahieu. I would have liked to see Soto hustle out of the mound. But hasn't this always been talked about with Juan Soto? Go back last year with the Yankees and Juan Soto, guys. The Yankees never hustled out of the box, except for Aaron Judge. Nobody talked about that. So let's not act like this has never happened before. Juan Soto has done this his entire career. We care more about it because he's on the Mets. And on top of that, I was not mad. By the way, guys, did everybody forget what happened in the first inning? Pete Alonso didn't speed out of the box when he hit the green monster. Did we all see? This is how it's a dynamic in where people would not care about what Pete Alonso did in the same game but made sure they brought up Juan Soto's not hustling. Both of them thought they hit the ball over the wall. Pete Alonso, the reason why he was out at second was because he watched the ball for halfway down the first baseline before he realized it wasn't going to go out and got stuck and got caught at second base. Juan Soto did the same exact thing Pete Alonso did and never got a chance to go to second. Like, there you go. Like, that is the thing, guys. Like, everybody blew over the fact that Pete Alonso did the same thing in the first inning. Pete Alonso watched it down the first baseline and then tried to pick it up when he was out by a mile. Oh, Brad, what about McNeil, right? I think McNeil has been solid, right? So, here's the thing. I still think Juan Soto is going to be fine. I think it's an overreaction because the article came out the same time when all eyes were on Juan Soto and the Subway Series. Like, again, Bob Klapisch could have wrote this 2 weeks ago when we were playing the Diamondbacks or the Pirates prior to the Yankee series. Why didn't he do it then? Because he knows that it wouldn't get the amount of clicks and the views during a Pirates series. Yeah, people would notice, but it wouldn't get the amount of craziness that would come out of that in the Subway Series. So he planned this well, and that's what happened. Like you got to understand that. Like Andy Martino, has he wrote a bad story about the Mets yet? No. Why? Because they've been 10, 11, 12 games over 500 for the majority of the season. That's how good they've been. But don't worry, if the Mets have a stretch of games, let's say about 20 games where they're, just over 500 or just under 500 and still remaining 9, 10, 11 games over 500, he'll write a bad story because he only writes negative stories about the Mets. It's hard to write negative stories if you're Andy Martino. Andy Martino would have wrote a story about this, but Bob Klapisch, beat him to the punch. So overall, I'm not concerned about Juan Soto because even when he was struggling with the Padres in 2022, once he got traded there, he still ended up having solid numbers, very, very solid numbers, not Juan Soto numbers, but solid numbers. And there's nobody that was putting up average Soto numbers for the New York Mets last year or the last couple of seasons. So I'm not worried about him. The guy's going to be fine. We act like the guy has been making $50 million for the last 4 seasons when he was barely making over $20 million, which was what was Pete Alonso was getting paid around that money. Nobody cared about that. Like, that's what I don't understand. Pete Alonso has been abysmal the last 2.5 weeks of the season. The last 2.5 weeks. He's had a good 3 weeks and a bad 3 weeks. And there's no in between. He was excellent the first 3 weeks, and he's been terrible the last 3 weeks, and put the defense in there as well. If Pete Alonso makes that throw and gets Dominguez at the plate, there's 2 outs, still a tie game, and no guarantee that the Mets lose that game. If the Mets win that ball game, we win the series, and nobody would be talking about this stuff. So, I love how Pete Alonso gets away with everything at this moment when he's been worse than Juan Soto the last couple of weeks. Now, he picked us up the first couple of weeks of the season, so he gets credit for that. But come on, guys. Like, we overreact to this stuff. Brad, I agree. Now, Does that mean that Juan Soto is going to have a terrible career as a New York Met if he has a season, like if he's continuing to be like this and has, let's say, 20 home runs this year, 75 RBIs, bats 260? Not a good season for Juan Soto, right? But I tell you this right now, you know who I want up at the plate in the playoffs? Juan Soto. Because again, I just said it. When he was having a tough season with the Padres, once he got traded, he still had a great September, a really good September, and he had a really good postseason for the Padres. So he steps up. Yeah, committee, he does have an opt-out. And again, you really think he might opt out? Well, committee, we'll see. But you know what? There's nobody else I want up in a postseason than Juan Soto. I don't want nobody else up because he proved it his entire career. He's played in the playoffs all but I think 1 year in his career. The guy steps up when it matters. Like he does. That has been a trend. And I expect him to. Yeah, committee, but again, that's 5 years away. We can't talk about year one and game 49 of the season and worry about 4.5 years from now. We can't worry about that. And he shouldn't be worrying about that. Again, I don't want to hear anything about Juan Soto, and this goes directly to Juan Soto. Remember, guys, his mother didn't put a gun to his head. His family didn't put a gun to his head while he was signing that contract for the New York Mets. If you wanted to be a Yankee, go be a Yankee for less money. Maybe I would have had a little bit more respect for you if you took less money to go back to the Yankees. I would have respected that. I would have been upset, but I would have respected that. Because if you want to be somewhere, you have the ultimate decision. I don't care who was whispering in your ears, and everybody has to make this all ultimatum. Oh, his family wanted him to be a Met. His mother wanted her clothes allowance, and they wanted a suite for every game at home. Blah blah blah. Guys, he took the fucking most money. It's not that hard. Every player, 99.9% of players, take the most money. The only time when they don't usually take the most money is when they go back to their original team. And again, it's hard to say original team when Juan Soto played 1 year with the Yankees. He took the most money. It's just that simple. That's it. Like, we try to break this all down. Like, the Mets didn't swoop in last minute and offer him a little bit more money, opt out after 5, and if the Mets want to keep him around and void that opt out, they can give him, I think it's another $40 million overall for the contract. They can do that. So it was more money. That's all it was. Like, we looked so much into that, like it wasn't just more money. Now let's start blaming his family for being a Met. Like, it's going to be very hard for Soto, who's going to be 30 years old, once that opt-out is there, and say, all right, he's probably not going to get the long-term deal that he thinks he's going to get. He might get the similar money, but he's not going to get the same amount of years. So we're worried about 48 games into the season. All I've heard for the last 4 years about Francisco Lindor prior to the start of June last year was the same thing. Dolo, they can say whatever they want. But they also have a player who is the best player in baseball that can't show up in the postseason. And if it wasn't for Juan Soto last year, they wouldn't even make the World Series. They'd have been lucky to get out of the ALDS. So it's unfortunate that they have to, again, this is the problem. The Yankees fans have nothing to worry about when it comes to their team. You know why? Not because the Yankees are world beaters, because they're definitely not. They could have easily got swept in this series. That's how they didn't play that well. Their runners in scoring position were terrible up until that 8th inning, and they finally looked like a baseball team. They weren't playing well either. They made errors. They made base runner mistakes. They did the same exact thing the Mets were doing. Nobody pulled away and looked dominant. The Yankees didn't look as dominant as the Mets did against the Yankees last year. Like, come on. Like, Yankee fans last year, they said, oh, well, you know, we had J.D. Davis cleaning up. That's your fault. So what? You had injuries. So I guess the Mets fans can make excuses. We didn't have Shohei Manaea. Can we make that excuse? No, we're not allowed to, right? The Yankee fans can make their excuses from last year, but they can't this year. The Yankee fans have nothing to worry about in the American League. So they can worry about everything else outside of the Yankee, you know, area of the Yankee mind. They don't have to worry about it because there's one team over 500 in the AL East, and that is the Yankees. So they don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about a division. Look around the American League. What do they have? 2 teams that might be really good, and that's in quotations. Teams that haven't done it in a long time and played well in a long time. That's the teams the Yankees are going to worry about? Come on. And on top of that, the Mets have to worry about probably about 9 teams in the National League. So that's where we are when it comes to the Juan Soto situation. Now, do I want him to be better? Absolutely. Now, I was more mad that Juan Soto didn't run out that ball that went up the middle that LeMahieu got a bad bounce on. I was upset about that. I wasn't upset about yesterday. Pete Alonso said the exact same thing. He thought he hit it out, and they loafed halfway down first base. Pete Alonso did the exact same thing in the first inning. I don't see stories about that. Last time I checked, Pete Alonso's getting $30 million. Why wasn't he busting out of the box? Like, if you're going to be equal in what both guys were doing, or, you know, what they were doing, not running out of the box, then be equal about it. Don't just point to one guy like the other guy just didn't do the same thing. The guy who also got a big amount of money. Like, yeah, explosive. It's so hard to hate Judge, right? I agree. Dolo, it's a typical Juan Soto answer. Again, I know a lot of people don't watch post-game interviews for other teams, but Juan Soto did the same thing. Do you know how many times the Yankees didn't hustle last year? And it was a big topic of conversation when they were starting to struggle a little bit. After they went to that hot streak and then they started to struggle, they didn't bust out of the box either. And they were all asked questions. Soto never asked that question. Soto walks around everything. He's always done that in his career. I know people don't like to watch other post-game interviews of other teams, but he did the same thing, right? You know why I'm confident? Because the Mets have Carlos Mendoza. Carlos Mendoza has shown you he's not afraid to go up to a big star and say what it is. He said yesterday he's going to speak to Juan Soto. He had his pregame interview today and says, yes, I spoke to Juan Soto. I'm not going to go into details, but I spoke to him. I'm not concerned because this isn't Mickey Callaway. This isn't an over the road Buck Showalter. This isn't Luis Rojas. All right. Carlos Mendoza has shown us that he's not afraid to step up to a player that's a star, just like he did to Lindor, and have a conversation. And that's why I'm not concerned. Because this team, last time I checked, and Met fans seem to forget this and think they're 12 games under 500, which they were around this time last year, 10 games over 500 right now. They are, the top 3 teams in the NL. Still, even with the struggles. Yes, they just lost first base. They're a half a game out. Let's relax. We knew this wasn't going to be an easy division. Why did we just assume we were going to coast? We're not in the AL East. We would have a 5-6 game lead if we played in the AL East, just like the Yankees. But guess what? We don't have that luxury. So let's worry about what we got to do tonight. We got Clay Holmes on the mound, who's pitched extremely well. Walker Buehler, I think there was a Red Sox fan earlier that's saying that Walker Buehler has struggled. I haven't looked at his numbers. I haven't watched him a lot. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to look real quick. He has a 4.28 ERA. He's 4-1. So not great, not terrible. He's kind of in between. He's kind of average, which is what it is. The Mets got to go out tonight to win a ball game. Clay Holmes has pitched well. It's not like the Red Sox blew over us yesterday. They won 3-1. Yeah, Dolo, did you expect them to be here? So what do they got to do? Listen, we know the problem with the New York Mets. It's been the problem all year. They had opportunities yesterday. Nobody got it done. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're losing games because the top of the order is not doing anything at all. The bottom of the order got the majority of the hits yesterday. What were they? 1 for 10? 1 for 11 the top of the order yesterday? We have to understand that this has been a problem the whole year, yet because the Mets are a very good team, they found ways to continue to win. We have to calm down a little bit. They're half a game out of the NL East in May 20th. You know how many games we were out of first place last year? Everybody wants to take a look. I told you this was going to be a tougher month of May. That's why you stack wins in April, because you're going through a slump or going through a little bit of a rough patch. This is a rough patch. And I'm sorry, if my rough patch is 5-5 in our last 10, I take it. So let's get it done, right? Dolo, any concerns with Senga last night? That's why I don't trust Senga, because he has moments like that. He'll pitch well, extremely well, in a couple of starts, and then he has a start like yesterday. Like, I don't trust him. Not only does he have to pitch on every 6th day, I don't trust Kodai Senga. I never have. I don't care how good his numbers are. I don't trust him. I just don't. You know, again, there's a book on Kodai Senga. Why more teams don't follow it is beyond me, but the Red Sox did it yesterday. You know what they did? They didn't commit to that ghost fork that he never throws for strikes. When you don't commit, you wait on his fastball, and that's what they did yesterday. Now, the Red Sox didn't, score 10 runs against him. He didn't have a terrible line, but you saw what they did yesterday. They let the ghost fork. If you strike out on a 2-strike count on a ghost fork, you tip your cap. That's what the Red Sox are doing. They were not swinging at that crap in the dirt. If you're not going to consistently throw them for strikes, the batters are going to start spitting on it. And they're going to look for your fastball, which he has a nice fastball when they're thinking about the ghost fork. Other than that, the fastball is very straight. Explosive, haven't I been saying that? I said that all offseason. I said that last year, why I didn't want him to start in the playoffs. He is not good enough to be considered the 1 and the 2 because he's too inconsistent. So I've been saying it for a while. Everybody wants to, hover over it like Kodai Senga is not a problem. He is part of the problem. He's always been part of the problem. So when he pitches, I'm like, all right, you like, there's never an in-between where he'll have a above average start. He'll either have an excellent start or a bad start. Now, yesterday was kind of a little bit leaning towards bad. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. And again, this was a Red Sox team that was struggling. No, Kilmer, I'm not. I'm sorry. You want to like Kodai Senga, go ahead. I don't trust Kodai Senga. He hasn't. Yeah, okay, so what? In 2023, he had no pressure. They pitched him every 6th day and 7th day. They babied him in 2023. The Mets were basically out of it in June, and he pitched with no pressure. Last year, he was hurt. So I'm not going on a year in 2023 when a team had no pressure, where Kodai Senga had no pressure in everything the Mets did for him to have him pitch. I'm sorry. I still don't trust him. Sorry. I don't. I just don't. You're not going to change my mind. You're just not. You can trust him. Again, when he pitches every ninth day and still pitches 90 pitches and can't go 8 innings when you get 45 days off after every start, I don't consider you a freaking starter, a reliable starter. Yeah, he'll throw his gems. And again, this isn't about the starting pitching, by the way. Right? I don't trust Kodai Senga, but the starting pitching isn't the issue. It has been the runners in scoring position. So, do I think this pitching is going to last? No, I don't. Is Kodai Senga a good pitcher? Yeah, we can have a conversation about him being a good pitcher, but stop talking about elite. Because again, when you need him to go every 5th day, when it gets into the dog days of summer and you need him to pitch every 5th day, can he actually pitch well? Because his record shows he cannot. Kill me. Yes, thank you. I'm a Mets fan who always thinks of the negative. Guess what do you think why? If you're a Mets fan and doesn't have negative undertones, then you're not really a Mets fan. We dealt with shit that most teams don't deal with, especially in the New York market. Yeah, Patrick, you can go fuck yourself too. Don't curse. Go away. All right? You can go away. He has a 1 ERA. Congratulations. Why does he get the benefit of the doubt? I'm actually more impressed with Clay Holmes and Griffin Cannon. You know why? Because they go out there every 5th day. Not Kodai Senga. He didn't pitch in this Yankee series, which he should have, because the Mets wanted to give him an extra day. Do you see how stupid that is? Like, it's just idiotic. You see how the Mets have to baby him into a start? That is not concerning to you guys? If that's not concerning to you guys, then you guys are not paying attention. Why wasn't he available? If he had normal rest like everybody else has, he would have pitched on Sunday. Not saying the Mets would have won, but he didn't pitch. Yeah, kill me. It's not even about the past. I'm not even bringing up the past. Right? We go crazy over Kodai Senga like he's done something so great here. When Griffin Canning, Clay Holmes should be the story, not Kodai Senga. Senga's supposed to do this, but on normal rest. He doesn't do it on normal rest. He has a well over 4 ERA, close to a 5 ERA when he pitches on regular rest, when he pitches on the 5th day. He doesn't do that because the Mets know he can't do it successfully. If you don't know that, you've been watching the Mets for 40 years, then pay attention a little bit better. Let's talk about present. Go back to 2023 when there was no pressure on him. The Mets were basically out of it in June. They were done. So let's not act like he had all this pressure. He was pitching every 6th day and every 7th day, every single time he went out on the mound in 2023. And we praised him. Stop it. I don't trust Cannon. I don't. But I'm giving kudos and I'm giving credit to them for what they've done. Cannon is a career bad pitcher. What he's doing here is absolutely amazing. Now, it is May 20th, so I'm not going to give him the Cy Young. But let him keep on doing it. Clay Holmes hasn't pitched more than 90 innings in his career. Let's see him do it once he hits that mark. Can he continue to pitch well? Like, we act like there isn't issues. Yeah, Senga basically pitches once a week. And if there's an off day, the Mets make sure they give him that day as well. Again, nobody talked about it. Why wasn't that a story? Why isn't these brilliant reporters talking about why wasn't Senga pitching on Sunday? Oh, right. They gave him the extra day. What? You kidding me? Now, the pitching isn't the problem. It is the hitting. We all know about that. But we know why when it has to change. It has to change because the top guys in the lineup have to step up. With Juan Soto not being very good this year, with Pete Alonso going through his cold spell, Lindor not hitting right now, you're not going to win ball games. You can't rely on Tyrone Terra, Brett Beatty, or even Acuna for that matter, because these guys are on the bottom of the lineup. These are role players. The fact of the matter is that the offense needs to pick it up. The offense needs to definitely pick up the pitching. The pitching has not been terrible, has been extremely good. They've still been solid. They've had their moments, but they've still been very good. Again, let's go back to the Yankee series. The Mets could have easily won that game. Easily won both of those games they lost. David Peterson pitched very well. McGill, let's not talk about McGill. I've told you about McGill. This is when he starts to crumble. Every year he does the same thing. But it's about time for the offense to pick up the pitching. And again, the pitching hasn't been bad, but you can't lose games 3-1. You can't score, 10 runs in 6 games? It's a problem. You got to be better. You got to help you beat your pitching a little bit. Right? Again, Senga didn't pitch terrible yesterday. But again, he didn't pitch in the Yankee series on Sunday because they wanted to give him an extra day again. So, how do I trust a guy that the Mets have to make sure he gets an extra day just to be hopefully successful? Or he can pitch like yesterday, so you wasted an extra day for what? For the hopes of him pitching well? It's stupid. If that's the concept you like, then have fun. But today, let this offense show up. How about that? Lindor, step up. Soto, please step up. Alonso hasn't been good over the last 2 weeks. He's really been struggling. And now he's mentally lost on the field. He can't throw a ball to a base now. Go figure. So these guys got to step up. Do you trust Brandon Nimmo? I don't. Mark Vientos, I guess. Honestly, McNeil has been good since he's come back. Alvarez showed a pulse yesterday. No, kill me. Here's the problem. Because the Mets did put value on the series last year. They set up lefties because they knew the Yankees struggled with lefties last year. So they set up their rotation for that. And it's not about Senga not pitching. It's the fact that they had to give him the extra day. Why? What if Senga actually pitched great again on Sunday and even better than Peterson did? Maybe we would have won 2-0 or 2-1. Maybe Senga would have went a little deeper than Peterson did. That could change the difference of a game. So, we're going to make excuses for Senga now? That's what we're doing? It's not about value in the series. But if it was normal rest, Senga would pitch. This is the problem that I have. Again, continuing to enjoy Senga's every 6th and 7th day starting. It's annoying to me. They talk about it all the time on the broadcast. He has well over a 4 ERA when he pitches on normal rest, just like every other starter. But you're going to continue to baby him, and then when you're really going to need him to pitch on regular rest, he's not going to be able to do it. He'll go out there and struggle because he's done it. You want to talk about what he's done? Not well in those situations. So there we go. Yeah, exactly, Ray. And The Mets have lost 4 out of 5, but they still haven't lost 3 in a row. Let's end that today. They did a good job at that. And funny thing, the first time this year, Griffin Cannon is not pitching when the Mets had potential of losing 3 games in a row. It's Clay Holmes. Now, I've been positive. The Mets are still 10 games over 500. Have you heard Met fans? They act like they had the record of last year. That's silly. I still have confidence in this offense. You know why? Because Lindor showed it. Soto's done it. Alonso's done it. Even Nimmo. Even Vientos. They've shown that they can carry teams. So, am I worried about this offense? No, I'm not. So, win today. Guys got to step up. Do I think Clay Holmes is going to pitch well? Yeah, because he hasn't shown me anything else. But the offense got to help out the pitching too. Like, help him. Again, Senga held down what he needed to hold down. Did he pitch great? No. But he gave the Mets the opportunity to win. The Mets had opportunities to win yesterday. The guys got to step up here. Kill me, we agree on something. I agree. I 100% agree with that. That's, again, kill me. Then people don't want to pay attention to that. Again, you just said don't worry about history. There's your problem because they don't worry about history. But he's done this. Same thing with Francisco Lindor. He has a known track record of being a slow starter April and parts of May. His entire career. They act like it's only exclusive to the Mets, which is not true. That's what annoys me. Same thing with Soto. He's had bad months in a season. It's just that it's only 1 month and the other 4.5 months, 1.5, close to 2 months, but the other 4.5 months, he's outstanding. So let's see it. I'd rather him struggle now than struggle in August and September. Now, again, it's still yet to be determined. And trust me when I tell you, I am not going to shy away if Soto's not playing well in June or July. Trust me, I will. Yeah, Manuel, I agree with you. The pitching has not been the overall problem by any means. Now, the bullpen has bumps in the road, but again, they have been overused. That has been a fact. And it didn't help that, obviously they were going to really baby all these pitchers the first month and a half of the season. Now, they've been going deeper into ball games. They've been having higher pitch counts, which is nice to see. And the bullpen for overall has been solid still. The offense has been the major issue. But the difference from last year to this year was that the Mets have been pulling out games late that have been close. That's why they're 10 games over 500 right now. That's why they have been 12, 13 games over 500. Because except for the last, I would say, week of the season, they've struggled to score those runs late. They had the opportunities. They didn't do it. But the majority of the rest of the year, they found ways to sneak in a run or two and win ball games and close games. So even when they have been struggling offensively, they've still found late in ball games, 7th inning on, to get those runs across to win ball games. It's only a matter of time when this offense starts to go. When is that going to happen? Hopefully soon. This is around the time when the Mets started to pick it up last year. And if you want to talk about picking it up, let them pick it up. But the offense needs to get together. And these guys got to start hitting at the same time. You can't have Alonso for 2.5 weeks, the only one hitting. You can't have Lindor hitting for 2 weeks and nobody else. You can't have that. You got to have 2 or 3 guys hitting at the top of your order at the same time, or you're going to have problems offensively. At the moment, the top of the lineup has been lost. Easy, I do too. Beatties has been very good defensively at third base. Stefan, wouldn't that be nice? That would be awesome. But you know what? We got to worry about today. We got Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Vientos, McNeil, Alvarez, Beatty, and Taylor. Beatty's playing third base. Vientos is DHing. You got McNeil at second base. You got the outfield that you usually see in Nimmo, Taylor, and Soto left, center, and right. Let's win a ball game today, guys. Let's avoid that 3-game losing streak that has been sneaking up on the Mets for the last couple of weeks. They've been avoiding it. Let's see if they can do that today with Clay Holmes on the mound. Walker Buehler, who has been okay this year for the Red Sox, go win a ball game. Let's make it happen. Let's avoid that 3-game losing streak. Let's win today and play a rubber game tomorrow against the Red Sox and win a goddamn series. Let's calm the waters in Flushing. Let's calm the waters in Flushing Bay. How about that, guys? With that said, enjoy the game, guys. Thank you for watching the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel. Dolo, I wish I could do a post-game show. Unfortunately, the last couple of days, I've been in work much earlier. I've been listening to baseball games, to the Met games, because I haven't been home. I've been working. So I've been leaving in the second inning, third inning of games. And I've been listening to the games at work. So unfortunately, I can't do a post game. There'll probably be a pre and post tomorrow. I think the games is a day game, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It's not. It's 6:45. All right. So most likely, I maybe can do a post game tomorrow. I will be doing a pregame tomorrow. No guarantee about a post game, but I'll do my best to do that again. If I kill me, I wish trust me. I love to stay home. I love to stay home. Yeah, I would, but what am I gonna do? I got to pay my bills, right? I gotta work. You know, I work overnight. Sometimes I don't have to go in until 11, 12. Sometimes I gotta go in at 8 p.m. It's annoying, but that's life, right? Life pulls us in mysterious ways. So with that said, guys, I do appreciate you hanging out with me today in the pregame. Make sure get my boss. Yeah, my boss don't care about. Well, technically, some of them do about the Mets. There's some of them there's a good few of them that are Met fans. But with that said, guys, have a good night. Enjoy the game. Let's go Mets. Let's avoid that 3-game losing streak, guys. Clay Holmes on the mound against Walker Buehler. Have a good night, guys. Let's go Mets.
7-train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both